It has not been the case. Right now, let's go to Bill Hartman, who is live for the start of the Peachtree Road Race. We are just moments away. Bill, take it away if you would.
All right, Jeff and John, good job down there at Piedmont Park. We are 6.2 miles away from you, a lot closer as the crow flies. You're talking about fairly heavy rain down there. It has not reached us here yet. It is still drizzling pretty good, however. Let's take a look at the lineup at the start line here in front of Lenox Square as we see the very first of those 50,000 runners queuing up, getting ready to go. These are the seated runners as you look down from Chopper 5 and take a look at just the mass of people as they get ready to run in what could be very good conditions. You know, I'm noticing some clouds between the chopper and the runners. 50,000 of them. This is the largest in the world, the largest 10K race in the world, right here in Atlanta, Georgia on July the 4th. There's Tommy Owen, the official starter, as he prepares to let this group go. By my watch, we are 2 minutes away. We are 2 minutes away from the start of the 25th anniversary of the Peachtree Road Race. You may have heard the official announcer go by my clock. I told him that I was going to tell him when it was 2 minutes to go. 50,000, and of course the elite runners will go first, and then the waves and waves and waves of the everyday runners, people like you and me, who will run 6.2 miles down to Piedmont Park. Top seed for the men is Arturo Barrios of Mexico. He is 31 years old, now makes his home in Boulder, Colorado. Lamek Aguda, a Kenyan, 22 years old, is the second seed. He's got a couple of countrymen, third and fourth seed after that. The Kenyans always do well here on July 4th. For the women, it is Anne-Marie Letko, 25 years old, from the United States. Jane Amoro, a 19-year-old runner from Kenya, is the top-seeded women's runner. By my clock, we are 1 minute away. We are 1 minute away by my clock of the running of the 25th anniversary of the Peachtree Road Race. Remember, there were 110 runners back in 1970 when this great event got its start. And now there are 50,000. They keep going up and up, and Julia Emmons, the director of the race, has told me that it could go even higher than this. She is actually running in the race today and wants to find out firsthand just how well the streets of Atlanta can handle 50,000 people. By my watch, we are 20 seconds away from the start of the Peachtree Road Race. 20 seconds to go. Tommy Owen will give the official wave. There is no starter's gun, there is a wave. Let's get ready. Let's listen to the start of the Peachtree Road Race.
The 25th anniversary Peachtree Road Race is underway. Let's hear it, guys. You're looking great.
The runners have begun their trek down to Piedmont Park. The first runners, of course, are the seated runners on their way. They will be followed by the thousands and thousands and thousands of everyday runners. 10,000 meters, 6.2 miles down Peachtree Road and into Piedmont Park. One of the great events in America, the July 4th running of the Peachtree Road Race. As you can see, some of the runners crossing the start line. Now the top runners will finish in about 28 minutes and 30 seconds, 29 minutes, something like that. John Curtin, you and Jeff Hullinger can tell us more about what we can expect on this race on this nice, cloudy, and wet day.
Bill, thank you very much. It is one of the most remarkable sights in all of sport. Those thousands marching, running down Peachtree. It is unforgettable, as you expect to see that on July 4th, and it's good to know that we are off to a good, safe start, and that is always a great concern, John.
It is, and it looks like we're underway very well. We've got a large lead pack right now. We see Ed Eyestone, number 6, up toward the lead right now, and it looks like Matthews Matsuratu is right there as well.
The left part of your screen, you can see number 1, Arturo Barrios of Mexico, who calls Boulder, Colorado home. He is 31 years of age, two-time Mexican Olympian and former 10,000-meter world record holder. It is his first Peachtree as the number 1 seed, and he is the man to meet and the man to beat as well. John, is he the kind of runner who likes to start off quickly, or is it better to try to monitor him as we get through the latter part of this race?
Well, this being Arturo's first Peachtree, I think he'll probably want to hang with a couple of the veterans in the earlier stages of the races. We see Benson right now, number 3 in the purple, outpacing the field, but Arturo's right up there. He's making his presence known early in the race, and we have just a crowded field right up front. Anne-Marie Letko, we understand, is off to an early lead in the women's division. So this is very encouraging at this stage of the race to see this many athletes up near the top.
Anna-Marie Letko is 25 from New Jersey, Glen Gardner, New Jersey. Her second place finish in the 93 Peachtree placed her on a trajectory toward becoming really the new American distance star.
Well, Anne-Marie has really emerged in the last year. Her fine time at the Advil race in New York 2 weeks ago gave her one of the top 10Ks in the world on the road this year. So she is on pace to be, as you said, one of America's finest.
We know that the weather conditions are most favorable toward, as Julia Emmons likes to call, the Frank and Dorothy racers. That is the group from the suburbs and from in town and from all around the region who like to run as a way to stay in shape. But how does it impact these world-class athletes? Is it as friendly to their bodies as it is to the other racers?
Yes, I believe so. As long as the rain remains light, it will be a major factor in helping them stay cool along the course.
All right, here is the course. As familiar as anything in Atlanta. You've driven it hundreds of thousands of times, but the issue here is to run it, and how different it looks running than being in an automobile. It's radically different.
Well, as you can see, we had the graphic up there of the first mile, and it's basically flat and downhill. Here we see our women's leaders, and Delilah Asiago and Anne-Marie Letko seem to be pacing the women's race right now. Delilah, a pleasant surprise up front. Jane O'Morrow seems to be right behind them with Carolina Zasbo. But Delilah is a pleasant surprise up there because she's just come off childbirth only a couple months ago. And she missed Peachtree a year ago, having her child. And she's been rounding into form the last couple of weeks. In her first couple races back from her pregnancy, she was not quite in top form yet, but right now she looks very good. She and Anne-Marie look very well controlled in this early stage of the race.
We have always talked about the Kenyan runners, and I guess the most famous Kenyan runner of all time is Kip Keino. But for the women, it's something new. There are some cultural barriers to get over for these women to be athletes, correct? It has not always been very favorable in their homeland.
It's been difficult, but in the last 2 or 3 years, Jeff, we've seen it open up with people like Delilah, with people like Jane O'Morrow, and they have opportunities to go out and make some money and make something themselves on the circuit. We heard our first mile split at 4:19, which is outstanding. It's a great start. As long as we have that good crowd up in the front, I think the pace will be pushed along. A 5:10 first mile split for the women is very encouraging as well. So if they can remain on this pace, we have some opportunities for an outstanding time.
Every race takes on its own identity. At what point do you begin to get a feel for the strategy that the men and women will try to employ, particularly given the conditions that they're faced with today?
The real story for the elite athletes, Jeff, begins at Hospital or Heartbreak Hill. The first 2.5 miles are downhill. They just barely running under control, monitoring their systems, getting into a pace and a rhythm. And we see the real leaders start to emerge as we get to the uphill sections at 2 3/4 miles through 4.5, 5 miles.
Some of our viewers may not know that John is the director of the elite runners. John, the night before the race, do you see any kind of mental games between these athletes, any jockeying to try to get a psychological advantage coming into Peachtree?
I think road racers, for the most part, are very low-key kind of people as far as athletes are concerned. You won't see a lot of the psyching out kind of things that happen in track and field. Benson Maysa and Ed Eyestone seem to be pacing the field right now. Benson is an outstanding internationalist. He's on the left side of our screen right now. You can see him. He was third place at Peachtree 2 years ago. He's a former world record holder in the half marathon distance, and he seems to be running very comfortably right now as we head on down Peachtree.
Boy, when you talk about Peachtree, you talk about Ed Eyestone. He has been here a long time. Conventional wisdom holds that if he is with the lead pack at the Colony Square turn, that his excellent downhill running ability could make him a factor. Do you buy into that?
Yes, I do. Matter of fact, I wrote that, and I think that was...
So that's where I got those from my index cards, huh?
That's how Ed did it in '91, and I think Ed is as good a downhill runner as there is, and he's also a very tenacious competitor, and as we said earlier, the key will be hanging with the pace to the Colony Square turn.
All right, let's take a break now. We'll come back to the 25th running of the Peachtree Road Race live here on Channel 5 right after this. Benson Maysa, the Kenyan who lives in Southport, England. He is 24 years of age and is as well known as anybody around the country. The 2-mile split is now 8:44. Right now
we're viewing Anne-Marie Letko, our women's leader, and she seems to have distanced herself a bit from Delilah Asiago, who was lingering in the back of the picture right there. Anne-Marie has been training here in the Atlanta area for the last several months. She is a tenacious competitor early in the stages of the race. She'll push the pace as she did a year ago at Peachtree, and it looks like right now she's broken away a little bit from the pack. A very fluid runner, a powerful runner. She's worked very hard on her weight work over the last year.
How much do you see that now in long-distance runners? Is there more involvement of weight work? I mean, when you typically, I suppose, when you look at these athletes, they are very small, very nimble. You don't think of them as spending a lot of time in a weight room.
More cross-training is coming into effect now, Jeff. We found that, yeah, you need to run the big miles, but if you can do the other things that make you a better athlete, that's going to give you that much of an edge over those who don't do the weight training. 10:05 at 2 miles for Anne-Marie. That's a little bit slow right now. It's 9:54 would be more around 32-minute pace, so she's not out quite as quickly as she was a year ago.
You can see the 2-mile mark by the arrow there. That will give you an idea, if you are not that familiar with Peachtree and you are not that familiar with this event, where exactly she is. Is there any way to account for the fact that the men are running at a near record pace, and if they keep that up right now, they probably will have a record? And the women's race right now from Anne-Marie Letko is a little bit slow. Are you surprised at that?
Well, they're both very much strictly different races. Because the women separate themselves early in the race, they're focusing in on their race, what's going on with them, their competition. What the men are doing is of little concern to them at this stage of the game.
All right, let's go back out to the race course. Let's see how things are progressing right now. The women's side, let's check that out again. The leader, Anne-Marie Letko, as she has been for the past mile and a half or so.
Well, it looks like Delilah Asiago in our center of our picture right now, and Delilah, as we said earlier, is coming off some health problems. She gave birth earlier in the year, and she's definitely rounding back into shape. Looks like we're going to see another one of the stages of the start, Jeff. There are 10 time groups that are released over a course of 45 minutes. So that, well, our top finishers will actually be reaching the park before some of these time groups get underway. But there's a 20-yard buffer zone between each one of these zones. And here we can see Benson Maysa again in the picture, and Benson in the middle of our picture has the pace. A good pack of about a dozen athletes, a very competitive race at this stage. It's anybody's race at Heartbreak Hill.
Well, once you get to Heartbreak Hill, there becomes the defining stretch of real estate in this race. You really get the opposers from the serious champions, and that is the place where this race is always won and lost.
Exactly, Jeff. Right now, you're gonna see this pack as they move up the hill start to spread out a little bit. it's an annual affair. Alejandro Cruz, who was the Runner's World Road Runner of the Year in 1992, is also up among the contenders right now. We can see some of them reaching for water. A great pack. As long as we have this pack, we're going to retain a very competitive race, and our opportunities for a strong time will remain.
Cruz is Runner's World Magazine's 1992 Road Racer of the Year, and he has made his presence known in almost every race that he has been involved in.
Runners are coming up on mile 2. Simon Morlong, number 5, we can see him in the pack right now. Simon, one of our young African runners coming in from South Africa. He's just 21 years old. He's one of the one of the top junior runners a year ago on the world scene.
Also number 9 is John Kapowski. He is number 19. He enters Peachtree after a very busy spring on the roads. Ran the Boulder 10K and also the Trinity Hospital Half Marathon in Kansas City. He has been very active over the last couple of months. Nakaraka is number 4. He is on the left. He is from Kenya, and he is one of the youngest participants in this race. He is 18 and is a Kenyan phenom, if you will. I mean, that's a great way to describe this guy.
Lazarus has shown very well in his last few outings. He ran very well at the Steamboat Fork miler. He ran 17:46 there 2 weeks ago and finished 3rd. So Lazarus has been in the money the last few weeks, and he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. He's run some decent 10Ks over the last few months, but he's primarily a half marathoner type athlete.
How long will these guys stay bunched up as they are right now? At what point will somebody try to make a move to break out and see what everybody else has?
Well, this is very surprising to me, Jeff, because usually we've seen an elite pack emerge of 2 or 3 by this time, but I think what we're seeing now is the depth and the balance of this field. We can see Danny Meyer, the Division III athlete from Little North Central College in Illinois. Here's a story for you. A young man who went to a non-scholarship institution in the United States, running in his first money road race. He was Division III national champion this year in cross country, the indoor 5,000, outdoor 5,000, and 10,000. He has a personal best of 28:48. So here's a young man who could be emerging as one of our top U.S. Americans.
And wouldn't it be terrific on this 4th of July to see an American win the Peachtree Road Race? It is a long shot, but certainly he is running well, and it would make for a marvelous story.
Well, Ed Eyestone was our last guy to do it, and as we can see, Ed is still in the picture and still in contention as well. So we've still got plenty of miles to go, and the pack remains together. But Benson Magia continues to hold the lead right now, and we're starting to spread out a tad as we see them stress on their faces as they take on the hill. You can see the escorts gathering there at the top of the hill. They'll be coming into position to help escort our women in so that we can see them. We can see 2nd and 3rd place women on our screen right now, and it looks like Jane O'Morrow, I believe, is in 2nd place.
Anne-Marie Letko continues to be our leader.
Jane seems to be striding along very comfortably. I don't know how far she is off the pace right now, but she looks very comfortable. This is about the same place a year ago where she started to have some of her physical problems, but she seems to be running very well, very relaxed at this stage.
I think sometimes you forget just how young Jane O'Morrow is. She's only 19. It seems like she has been around for a long time and is wise beyond her years, as the old cliche goes. There's Anne-Marie Letko. She is the leader, and John, she looks almost as strong as the last time we saw her about 7 or 8 minutes ago.
Well, Anne-Marie's just a machine. You see the strong arm action as she works the hill. This is Anne-Marie's strength. This is where her upper body strength training comes into play as she distances herself from the rest of the women's field.
What does the upper body do for these racers? Explain that.
Well, in a hill situation here, you can help establish your tempo with your arm action. As you drive your arms a little harder, your legs will respond and your knee lift will be a little bit greater. And Anne-Marie, you can see here, is driving, very focused. she wants to win this Peachtree Road Race.
And we will see who will win the Peachtree Road Race. We will be back for the finish after these commercial breaks live on Channel 5. I tell you right now, it is now a torrential downpour.
Yes, the heavy rains have just begun, and as we can see now on our screen, the men's leaders, we are excited to hear that our 4-mile split was at 17:50, and that is record pace, Jeff. That's about 10 seconds ahead of John Doherty's record pace. Hopefully this hard rain that we're experiencing right now will not hold them back. Simon Moralong and Benson Maja are taking the lead right now, and Benson, as we said before, is a half marathon specialist, a former world record. Lazarus Nakaraka also up helping with the lead.
Take a look at the umbrellas that have opened here at Piedmont Park. It is pouring. The expectation, at least from the National Weather Service, from what we have been able to determine, is that this rain would hold off, that it would not come until a little bit later in the morning. But sooner has been rather than later, at least in the case of the Peachtree Road Race.
Well, surf's up here, Jeff.
I'm hanging 5, hanging 10 also.
We're hoping that our lead athletes will hang in. Benson Maja, again, number 3 on your screen, taking the pace. We've got a pack with Kapowski, number 19, tagging along. A solid group. And looks like they're moving along. They're coming into the... We see Simon Moralong in the picture as well as Kapowski. These guys, I think, have stayed together long enough that they will remain together. I think that the chance for the next big break would be at the Colony Square turn, Jeff.
The women have now passed the mile 4 marker, and John, I have to tell you, I'm like a lot of people that are watching this morning wondering how heavy rain will impact these racers. How will it impact in terms of strategy? We've heard a lot about the fact that it's easier to run when there's some drizzle, but what about when it's raining hard like it is now?
I don't think it'll have any effect on these guys that we're looking at right now up in front. Benson looks totally under control. We see Lazarus Nakaraka right next to him. It will have no effect on them. I think the people we need to think about the weather having effect on are the people in the back of the pack who haven't even left the starting line yet and are experiencing these poor weather conditions.
Well, heat is not a condition that runners are going to have to deal with, which is something very alien for the Peachtree Road Race. When you think about this event, clearly you think about the humidity and you think about the heat that really has caused so many problems to people that simply are not prepared to run. Not only the 10K that is most difficult, but also dealing with those kinds of conditions.
Well, we've got a pretty good downpour right now, but I really don't think this is going to have a terrible effect on the elite athletes. We just hope it doesn't get any heavier. This is a first time happening for us at Peachtree. As we mentioned earlier, we've never seen wet weather conditions like this before. On our screen now, we're viewing Anne-Marie Letko, our leader, our #1 seed, and she's just forged ahead on her own. She seems very relaxed at this stage of the race. She has a very, very focused look on her face. She has a solid cadence going.
Does that give her an advantage to training in Atlanta? You have mentioned before that she has been here for a while, getting herself acclimated not only to the course but Atlanta overall. Does that aid in a runner's preparation and perhaps give them a certain advantage when the field is very very even?
Oh, most definitely. She's seen this course. She's run this course in all kinds of conditions. She could stay all week at her own home in comfortable surroundings. This all was in her favor.
The leader now is Lazarus Nakaraka. He is the young Kenyan, the 18-year-old. He is #1. Split time is 22:35 at the 5-mile mark. Fast, John?
We've slowed down a little bit, and I think the rain might have had something to do to that. We're a little bit behind record pace, about 12 to 13 seconds. But we still have a great competition as they get ready to make the turn. Taking a look at 14th Street right now on our screen, and police motorcycles leading the way as we get ready to see them come on down 14th Street for this long run toward the park.
The runners now are on 14th Street, as you can see, and the leader right now remains Lazarus Nairaka as he continues to be the man at this point. You like his chances to win this race right now?
Well, I think we still have several contenders, but Lazarus is definitely has the talent and the ability to be there. He was, as I said, third 2 weeks ago at Steamboat in Peoria. He's a relatively young athlete. He's coming out of South Africa. He was fourth place finisher in the World Cross Country Championships in '93, and that's the first time we really got a chance to see what this young man can do.
Is it like boxing? Is it like baseball or the NBA in that players in those sports are particularly in their prime around 29 to 31? Is it the same for runners of this this class?
We'll see a range of athletes still in their prime into the mid-30s. Matthews Matsuratu in this race today is 35 years old and still very, very competitive. We see Benson Maja on the left right now, and he's pulled into the lead as we enter the park with 7/10 of a mile to go.
Benson Maja, he is 24. He is from Southport, England. He is a native Kenyan. Well, Lazarus Nairaka is second.
Okay, they're in the park.
And they are now in the park.
Kapowski in third. We've got a lead pack of three that I think have a shot at this. I would give the advantage to Benson, having run this race before. He's very familiar with the layout in the park. He knows how much distance he has left to cover. And despite being a strong half marathoner, Benson does have good leg speed. And if it comes down to a kick, I think he can hold his own with Lazarus.
Macha's best Peachtree finish was a third in 1992 at 28:25. So we will see if he can eclipse that. Anna Marie Letko now is at the 5-mile mark. Do you have her split time, John?
She's 25:50, and that's well under 32-minute pace. I don't think we're talking about record pace, but she's running very, very well.
Benson Maja now has turned it up and turned it on. He has opened up his lead. You saw him a moment or two ago look back. He looked back again there to try to get an idea of just how far ahead he is. And you can see by that stationary camera that just sits there, and you can see how far back number 2 and number 3 is in this race. So barring the unforeseen, Benson Maja looks like he is going to be the winner of the silver anniversary of the Peachtree Road Race. He is well in Piedmont Park trying to make his way to that turn, and there is the time in the left-hand corner of your screen. It'll give you an idea of how well he is faring. The time perhaps not as good as we anticipated at the earlier stage of the race, but the belief is perhaps that the rain has slowed things down a bit.
I think most definitely the rain after the 4-mile mark, when it got heavy, turned it into a more of a competitive type race, tactical race than a record type run.
The folks here at Piedmont cheering on Benson Maja, and here at the finish line they are craning their necks trying to get a look at the young Kenyan as he begins to kick toward the finish. And man, oh man, look at him blast away from the rest of the field. He is running away with the Peachtree Road Race. Here they come around the bend, and the folks now at Piedmont are standing up, giving their applause to this 24-year-old Kenyan, Benson Maja, who has been an absolute splendid story here today. He has not had much trouble, at least over the last mile and a half. That is where he has been able to really kick it up, John. And now the applause for Benson Maja. The question is now not whether he will finish first or second, because we know that, but we will find out what the time will be as he hits the finish line of the Peachtree Road Race at 28:01 unofficially.
Lazarus Nairaka, a close second, Jeff. A very competitive Peachtree this year. We see Simon Morlong crossing the finish right now. Here comes another one of our South African runners. Here's Arturo Barrios crossing the line right now for the men. Arturo.
The women have now hit the park. The leader right now remains Anna Marie Letko. She is from the United States, from Glen Gardner, New Jersey. At the age of 25, her second place finish in the 93 Peachtree has placed her on a pretty good course to be successful today, and she clearly has done that.
She has taken charge from wire to wire, and she's got about 6/10 of a mile left to go, and she definitely has this race under control. It's just a matter now of what kind of time that she can maintain.
She really drives with the upper body, doesn't she?
She is. She is a real slugger. She's, as we saw earlier, she's very effective on the uphill stages. She's a classic striding type athlete. She's not one of the marathon type shufflers. She has a very classic stroke.
All of these athletes love to win, but she is particularly fierce in terms of her desire to succeed and to be first at every event that she possibly can be.
Well, I think finishing second last year was tough for her to take, and when she came back here this year, she was on a mission, and I think she made it very clear to all that she came to Peachtree to win, and she's going to.
Anna Marie Letko is from the United States, so there will be an American that will win Peachtree Road Race. It will be on the women's side of the ledger. The Kenyan is the victor on the men's side today. Benson Masha. So
we see
the women have entered the park, John.
We see Anne Marie in our picture right now, along with her spotter or escort. And she's running very much under control right now, just over 30 minutes. She's just going to cruise in on a solo effort right now.
It is unbelievable to see how fast she is running, how she's able to punch it up this late in a race. It's almost impossible to comprehend for anybody who's tried to run a 10K at what she is doing right now.
Well, it's all Anna Marie right now, and whatever she can do time-wise is up to her. She's not going to get any help from any competition. It's Anne Marie Letko in the clock right now, Jeff.
The rain is falling harder and harder here at the finish line at Piedmont Park. We will see if this will continue all morning. The sense is that it probably will, John, so runners are going to have to deal with it from every classification, be it the everyday runner to someone who is going to struggle with the 10K, to the world-class athletes who also must find some way to deal with the rain, and it is pouring right now.
Anne Marie Letko, still our leader. And she looks strong, Jeff. It's all Anne Marie. Right now, we can see on our clock, it's 31:09.
This is one Anne Marie that is that girl, at least in the park.
She's rounding the curve now. The crowd is starting to anticipate our first women's finisher. And Anne Marie seems to be maintaining very well.
Anne Marie Letko. Now the question is, what will her time be? You see it at the left-hand corner of your screen. Anne Marie Letko. Here she comes. She is the winner of the 25th running of the Peachtree Road Race. It is the second best time in the history of Peachtree, but that is unofficial at this juncture. Jana Morrow is second.
A fantastic solo effort by Anne Marie Letko to run that kind of time in the kind of conditions she experienced over the second half of the course. Just an outstanding time, right around high 3250s. Here comes Jana Morrow in a purple outfit. She's our #2 finisher on the women's side. She finished around 32:28. A fine effort for her as well.
We'll be seeing our third woman pretty soon.
We can see some of our Masters finishers crossing the line. Delilah Asiago in third.
Third woman was...
Explain to everybody what the Masters means in road racing.
The Kenyans have done quite well.
The Masters competition is made up of our athletes who are 40 years of age and over. They have their own separate category of race. There's prize money set aside for those people, and they're very, very competitive.
All right, Tom Corvin is standing by live, and he has the men's winner, Benson Masha. Gentlemen?
Close shoot 3.
Close shoot 3.